I don't think you're doing it.
I think it is.
I kind of think you're mocking me.
No, I'm not at all.
This is Mark and Charity's Coffee Podcast.
It's a more subdued Mark and Charity Coffee Podcast today. Or maybe not. We're just getting started.
We're
Who knows?
just starting. Who knows what could happen?
Hi, everybody. It's Tuesday, July 25th. Hey, you know what goes on today?
What goes on today?
A lot of businesses, campgrounds. They have Christmas in July today.
Oh, really?
It's the 25th.
Oh, we never even mentioned that this morning.
Yeah. Well, we had a full show. We had a lot of stuff going on. We had a new yacht rock song. We had so much stuff happening.
Yeah, that was the big event this morning.
Was for me.
I know
Couldn't
it was.
wait to unveil Dock of the Bay as our song to get into our marine report. We're so clever. Everything is important. Everything
I'm sorry.
is important on the show.
I cannot be included in that. That is all you.
What?
That
you're important?
No,
Oh, what doesn't matter?
Rock.
Everything that goes on in this show is important. From Charity unearthing the AI Johnny Cash song.
Had you not heard that?
For Barbie.
See, I felt bad because I meant to include it yesterday. I heard it over the weekend being played. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is it. The machines are going to take over.
That's it. Yeah, this is it. This is it, right?
Because we've heard about it for so long, and then it slowly, it's creeping in there. And then I heard the Johnny Cash thing, and I'm like, holy shit.
Yeah, here we go. A listener emailed me during the show, but I just read it after the show, that said, I was going to tell you not to give this AI oxygen, but I fear we're probably too late anyway, right? And I said, yes. Do you know what it started with? Spell check. As soon as spell check came in, we all were looking for ways to alleviate the fact that we didn't have to think and learn, and look where we are now.
Well,
intelligence just got bigger and bigger and bigger.
And now they can take the voice of a man who's been dead 15 years. He's been gone a while.
A lot, yeah.
And put it over to use it to create the song. And it sounds like Johnny Cash.
Right.
You can say it doesn't, but it sounds like Johnny Cash, and use one of his songs. But then I come in this morning, and the headline was on one of the sites that AI has now created, and I didn't even look into it because much like the person who emailed you, I don't want to give it air either. But much like the movie Her, has created a quote unquote a companion.
I saw that story.
That can be programmed to your likes, your dislikes, your like they can be the perfect
sexual preferences. Yep.
The perfect partner.
Yep. Talk to you in ways you like.
Yeah.
Yep. Say the things you like to hear.
No, don't argue, agree. And it's like, wow.
Wow. Yeah.
That's what scares me more than anything.
That's because that's the movie Her.
Exactly.
If you lived alone and that is your companion, what human could ever compete with that?
All I could think of was, why would anyone then put in the effort to have an actual relationship with a human being when you have this? The easy... Everything's fine.
Right, exactly.
They love me.
Yep.
And I don't have to do anything.
And all of those.
And that scares me.
I'm also thinking later in life when they say, well, really at this point, I'm just looking for companionship. There it is. That's your companionship.
But that's not companionship.
No, well, we don't. We say that.
We say that. And again, you go down in the rabbit hole more and more. The studies are saying kids today are moving further and further away from, and not just marriage, but long-term relationships, commitments to each other, because you now have this. Yeah,
and there's, like why? Why forever? I should always just be happy. Not that you get miserable, but the point is,
but again,
as soon as there's a first bump in the road, you abandon it.
You and I have talked about it. Relationships are work.
Yeah.
No matter what kind of relationship it is, it takes work. So now we're making it even easier for people to not put in the work.
Yeah.
And just take the easy way out.
And just, have this relationship. So,
exactly. It's scary.
Yeah.
But so that was on the show this morning.
That was kind of
And then the Taylor
funny.
Swift thing was weird.
Yeah, I think somebody just pressed the wrong, they did a wrong pressing.
A copy, so she put out her version of Speak Now, out on vinyl, special edition copies of it. And of course, people are ordering it. A UK fan of hers had it. received the vinyl, put it on, and it seemed like it was possessed, like these really odd messages, something from the 70s. Mm-hmm. That's when I'm reading it, I'm like, oh, someone's having a trip here that isn't okay. And no, you're right. I think it was just the wrong press. Like something this is my ignorance to it. I don't know how records are made. So I don't know, was it something that can be recorded over? Or did they just put the wrong song on, like the wrong information on the record?
Wrong package.
Okay.
And then they put it in the wrong sleeve.
Because I was thinking, okay, did they just tape over it? Like, did they take something old and make it new again? Or
no, it's an acetate pressing. Okay. So, yeah. And maybe they had this one lying around. Why? I don't know.
Exactly, because it's so random.
Yeah. Why would it end up at a Taylor Swift? Swifty's not giving it back, by the way.
No, she's keeping it.
Good on her.
She says it's the most unique piece of merch she has.
That's right. Anybody could have. You thought it was
nobody else has it.
By lunchtime today, Taylor Swift would have seen that online and plans for tickets, besties.
You think so?
You're part of the squad. You're in. There you go. Can't afford it, but
I would like to think she'd reach out in some way.
Some way, yeah. She would do that. I did have somebody once ask me how I could define artificial intelligence, and may I try?
Sure.
Because artificial intelligence is not something better than we can create. It's the best of what we can create. So what it does is it goes online and it finds the best of everything, and that's what becomes the standard. So, for example, I once saw a commercial years ago, and I think it was during the Masters, and it was if Jack Nicklaus handed in a scorecard for the best score he ever had on every hole at Augusta National, right?
Okay.
He would shoot 49. So it's not his best round, but his best score that he ever made on hole number 1. Best score he ever made on hole number 2. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
So Jack Nicklaus's artificial intelligence best score at that golf course is 49. Did Jack Nicklaus ever shoot 49? No, of course not. Never. But if he ever has, so you see what I mean? Mm-hmm. If we just took the best of everything we know, it's this incredible intelligent thing. It was created by humans, but it's only at our best. And that way it's infallible, and that's the new standard. That's what kind of scares me a little bit.
No, I don't like it.
Because there's no copyright anymore. Like I can't, as a writer, I can put plots into an AI site.
And they'll create it.
It'll create a book. And right now, Amazon is chock full of AI books. You can't tell. You can't tell if they're real.
Nope.
And so somebody they'll put different names on it. 1,000 books that people are buying, they're making all the money. They never wrote them. And I'm not. And as a prospective and up and coming author, am I jealous? Yeah. Am I mad? You bet. But a lot of people can't tell if that's a real book or not, quote unquote. Listen to me now, right? A real book or not. They figured it out. Pretty soon we're going to be buying songs. Is that a real artist or not? Mm-hmm. Jamie Foxx yesterday, was that really him or isn't it?
Yeah, they're questioning that. And yeah.
When are we going to go to court and wonder whether what we're being told is real evidence? Like, is that a real person on that recording saying those damning things?
Is that a real video?
Yep.
Are we seeing what we're seeing?
Yep.
Or is someone putting, because again, and you saw me watching this yesterday, actual news footage is being cut and spliced into commercials and ads now running on Spotify and YouTube and Google. Like it's there. And the reason I knew this is the news anchor did a story on it. He's like, this is not, it's me, but it's not.
Yeah.
This is a clip of a story we did about this, but they've taken my part of it and put it in to sell their product. So yes, I'm saying what I'm saying. They haven't they haven't changed what I'm saying, but they've taken it out of context and used it for their purposes.
And then AI, the rest of the voice on the overlay, on the dub, talking about that actual product. So once they started with that person, you're like, oh, okay, there's that person that I trust on the news, and then it continues.
And it was a viewer who was scammed by...
Yeah,
because it was someone off the news.
Yeah, that I trust.
Exactly.
And then oh man.
Like there's so many.
That's the angles.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the angles. I mean, yes, some part of this is going to make our lives better, and the rest of it's going to scam us.
Is it though?
Well, at some point,
in the long run,
sure.
Is it? Like, look at some of the things we can all say. It's easy to say it makes it better, but in the long run, is it better? You always see the memes of, remember when we were kids and we didn't have this and we didn't do this and we still survived and we found other ways. I see what you mean about it making it better or easier, but in the long run, is it? Because we all long for.
Well, I'm not talking about an overall society. I mean, like, we've developed prosthetic limbs. Okay, so here's where I mean, like, things like this can create ways that people can better enjoy lives who can't. I don't ever want to replace the environment
and that's great,
to live my life in a headset, right? Like, we've seen movies like
VR.
I totally get what you're absolutely I get all of that. But I'm sure at some point when furnaces were invented, people who shivered to death said, "Oh, you pansies."
Well, and I always think the washing machine too.
Yeah,
who wants to be down at the river scrubbing the clothes?
Exactly. So that was, that was artificial intelligence for people back then.
That's what I mean. There are things that
that will be
better. Can help.
But computers have accelerated that ability to go from what I think was spell check to Photoshop to here we are.
Humans have a way of going overboard.
Yeah, well, we
taking things to the extreme.
And in North America, we do that on steroids.
Exactly.
It's an open market, and we run with it.
So who knows? Who knows? But
first one to the mousetrap wins.
There is something interesting about it all. You can't say it isn't. It's kind of neat to hear Johnny Cash singing Barbie Girl. There's some lightness to that, some humor, but it's not going to stop there.
Somebody
and that's
wanted to know if they got artificial royalties. Probably.
Well, what does his family think? Like, at the beginning of that clip, it does say this is not Johnny Cash.
Yeah.
So they're not.
And the thing is,
they're open about it.
I didn't even think it was artificial intelligence. I thought it was a Johnny Cash tribute artist singing it. That's really what.
Really?
And maybe it wasn't, because I thought, okay, it's a guy who can sing like Johnny Cash.
Who sounds like Johnny Cash doing Barbie Girl.
Doing Barbie Girl. If you had told me that's what it was, it's like, haha, okay. Good, yeah, good one. So this guy's going to travel around the country and at Barbie shows.
Don't even need an impersonator now.
Yeah.
So what does that mean for Elvis?
Yeah, well, sure. John
like, you
Lennon.
Look around the world, how many Elvis impersonators are there out there?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And they do quite well. People love Elvis.
Right.
So now are we going to start hearing new music? Are we going to start hearing songs, Elvis covers?
Yeah.
Not by an impersonator, but by
artificial intelligence now taking other hits and reinterpreting as if Elvis did it, and everybody would like it, and suddenly we're playing that on the radio? Is that right? I don't know.
Then what do impersonators do? If AI can do it, why
would Tweed have an Elvis festival?
Maybe. Yeah. I'm just saying, like, where's it going to go?
Yeah. I just had a flashback. What? I apologize.
Yeah, no.
Back in the 80s.
Yeah.
When I was young. And synthesizers came out. The hue and cry amongst musicians that now you would have this keyboard that could create all kinds of other sounds not made by those musical instruments. It'll ruin music. 40 years later, still using them.
So this could just be some novelty, some fun little thing to do, and people move on, and it's fine.
Yeah, and then it's for what it's intended to do, which is aid in creating. It solves world hunger. That's what it's supposed to do. Takes the best of our technology, right?
Amazing.
The best of our technology for the good of all humanity, not simply to create what a Barbie song would sound like.
Sung by Johnny Cash.
Or worse, to take Mark and Charity and scam our listeners into thinking that we are supporting something.
Or to hand out prizes online and give me your banking information.
Yeah, you got hacked.
I did get hacked last week.
Not cool, not good. You know, so they don't try and hack me because nobody would want to.
Well, you're not on social media. You don't have a picture.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why.
Yeah.
Because the picture they use, we had a listener say that it had my picture and everything. I'm like, oh. But they used one of the pictures from our website.
Okay.
It wasn't one of my personal pictures.
Okay.
It was one from the website. So I could see why it would trick, but you have to be you got to be a sleuth yourself, because looking at it, it looked real, but at the same time, as soon as I saw it, I'm like, well, no, because if you look at my profile, that's not what I use. That's not what I do. That's not.
But if you're not on our Facebook page or the website a lot, you would just think, okay, it got changed. Things get changed. Well, that's a summer one. Yeah, because I wouldn't know.
You just got to be on it. You got to be aware.
Got to be really careful. Did you ever have Amazon Echo or any of these sorts of things?
No.
Because we did. We did for about 3 months, and then we took it out. Because the coincidences of the things we were talking about showing up in ads was just too overwhelming to think that's
it's
crazy.
Freaky enough on our phones.
Yeah, and yeah.
Because what were we talking about? Wayne and I weren't even talking about it. And I know you and I have had a conversation similar to this. I was talking with someone else. Wayne might have been in the room. Clearly his phone was, because now he is getting ads for things she and I were talking about. He said, you and I weren't even talking about this. You were talking about this, and then look what's up on my phone.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow, well, maybe you should be talking about that.
I was going to say, and Wayne, and that's why I'm getting lingerie ads, and I swear, God is my witness. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
But yeah, I believe it. It makes you. And there was that conversation too when Alexa first started.
I'm not sure
what's going to happen here.
Yeah, because I think I had said the road I think it's going to go down is it's going to become so personalized that it will become emotional. So if I say every day at about 8 o'clock in the summer, hey, whatever, I don't want to say the name and start tripping people's, but, what's the score of the Blue Jays game? And then they say, Toronto Blue Jays are winning 3-1 in New York. And you go, all right, that's great. And it interprets the fact that, oh, you're a Blue Jays fan. So then they will come on and say, the Blue Jays are winning. Or, oh, the Blue Jays are... In other words, they can start to...
That would freak me out.
So you talk about they're creating these perfect sexual partner sort of things that they could now start using emotion to determine whether you're looking for good news or bad news. Or is the information I have going to excite you or disappoint you?
I'm sure there's got to be some of it.
What's the weather today? Oh, it's going to rain, right? Like that's got to start happening.
That's got to be some of the programming, though.
Yeah.
That's got to be in there. The reaction of the operator would dictate how that
information is then given.
Yeah.
And then you begin to create
or
this...
progresses.
Yeah. Oh.
What comes after? Okay, if they sound, the inflection goes down, so they sound unhappy. So now I have to say something that's going to make them happy, or do, or find something that'll make them happy.
Yeah. So anyway, it's artificial intelligence.
It's freaky.
And So, but it's here to stay. Like I say, once. For me, and I'm sure spell check wasn't the first, but I think at some point...
And spell check is awesome.
Yeah, but it's an artificial...
At times.
It is an artificial intelligence.
We've complained about that enough, too. You start to rly on that, and then you don't use...
Yeah, you don't learn how to spell words. You let it do it. But I'm just as guilty.
I know. That's our society, though. If there's something there to make it easier, 9 times out of 10, we tend to go that way.
Yeah. But anyway, okay, so tomorrow we're going to talk about the living longer, because we've run this one pretty good.
All right.
And later on this week, too, a very, very important podcast, Police Chief Mike Callahan was talking about his career and forensics, and it was fascinating. He also wants to get into the very uncomfortable with the movie out, Sound of Freedom, for example. Human trafficking is, it's prevalent. We think it doesn't happen here. It happens here.
And that's just it.
Hate to break it. It happens everywhere.
It is a bigger problem than you realize. Not that you may realize. No, it's bigger than you realize. It's happening everywhere.
And we being on the 401, it's an easy spot. And so
more
things
so
to look out for. Yeah.
Then you realize.
Things to look out for if it's actually happening. And more importantly, signs to do not avoid in a young person, because it could make them an easy target to be trafficked. If you're seeing this in your kids or your kids' friends, get involved.
Well, it's funny you mentioned
the
golfer this morning, and something that was said to him he carried through all weekend. From this discussion with Chief Callahan, there's one particular phrase he said during our chat that I just keep. It's going to stick with me forever.
Yeah.
What he said when it comes to our kids, one thing that we have to do and not stop doing. And that'll come up in the chat too.
So we'll have him on the podcast coming up later on this week. And we're getting ready for our Throwback Thursday. We're going to unveil tomorrow. We've been getting listeners help in this. They've been utterly, sort of helpful.
I'd say they've been very helpful.
Have they been very helpful?
It's looking good for Mark.
Okay.
We'll say that.
Let's do that. And okay. That's coming up tomorrow morning. Have a great Tuesday, everybody. It's Mark and Charity Mornings on 95.5 Hits FM.